Glasses check, audio check, everything's checked. Okay, let's go. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're gonna be talking about dyslexia and imposter syndrome. So in the last two videos on confidence, I kind of touched on imposter syndrome, but in this video, I want to kind of do a deep dive into it and kind of talk about what it is, how it affects dyslexics and other people with neurodivergent brains, and some techniques that I use and some techniques that you can use to kind of overcome this feeling of imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is kind of like the opposite of feeling arrogant. So when you're feeling arrogant, you're overconfident about something. Like if you're like a new driver and you're like feeling arrogant about it, you might make some mistakes because your skill levels are not matching what you're actually able to do. And if you're overconfident, you're arrogant. If you're underconfident, you might be feeling imposter syndrome. So this could be someone that's been driving for a while, but they're still feeling kind of not confident about their abilities. And one of the times I've been like really strongly hit with imposter syndrome was the day my daughter was born. So I remember being at the hospital, the doctor hands me this like beautiful human, and I just like felt like so overwhelmed, like all these emotions like were going through my body, and I was like feeling like I'm like instantly falling in love with this other human. And at the same time, in the background, there was like this sense of like being incompetent at being like a dad. And I just remember like having no idea like how to take care of this human. I just felt like kind of like helpless and like not sure what to do. And like for the next several months, I would like constantly look up certain things, even though I like kind of instinctively knew what to do in certain situations. I would like Google every single thing because I just wanted to make sure I was taking care of her the way I was supposed to. And I just had so many questions and I just didn't know what I was doing at that time. So fast forward 3 years later, my son was born, and I had the same exact feelings, except that imposter syndrome, that feeling of incompetence, that feeling of not being able to do something, was like really lowered. I didn't even I knew for sure, I like knew what to do with this kid. Like I knew what I was gonna do when I took him home with me. And the reason why I didn't have such a strong feeling of imposter syndrome with my son was because I had all these experiences of positive feedback loops of me being like a good dad and me being able to actually be successful at taking care of my daughter. So when I had my son, that imposter syndrome feeling kind of didn't exist. All right, a quick announcement before we get to the rest of the video. I created a quiz so you can find out dyslexic strengths you have. The link is in the description below. Click on it, take the quiz, and find out right now. All right, let's get back into the video. So I think the reason why dyslexics like you and me sometimes feel like this sense of imposter syndrome is because we don't necessarily get the successes early in life that our peers get or our friends get when they're going through school. So largely school is based on like reading and writing, and because of that, we're not really successful at hitting those reading and writing targets and goals. So the successes that we're supposed to get, we don't get. Therefore, when we get older and we like going through our school system, where our confidence is really low at certain things. And when you're a kid, going to school and like, getting a gold star or getting an A or like getting good grades, it means a lot. I mean, it's basically the way we compare ourselves to everyone else around us. So we start to develop this like sense of inferiority, this sense of like us not being good enough to do certain things. So I think this really affects who we become as we get older. And this sense of imposter syndrome stays with us no matter how successful we are at like having a business or having good relationships with people, how much money we make. There's always like that chip on your shoulder that you're feeling like, yeah, like you're some kind of imposter no matter how successful you get at it. And you're kind of waiting for people to discover like that you're not supposed to be here. And I felt that so many times when I went to a university. I went to UCSB, which is a really good university, and I was just the whole time I was there, I was just like thinking like, man, I can't believe they let me in here. I just hope they don't find out I'm stupid. All these different like dumb things were just going through my head because of this imposter syndrome that kind of developed over a long period of time when I was a kid. And even after I got out of college, this feeling of imposter syndrome kind of stayed with me for a long time, no matter what it is I was doing and no matter how successful I got at doing certain things. Like building this YouTube channel, speaking at places like Google and big teacher conferences and things like that. Even while I was doing these like pretty cool things, I just felt like, oh man, I hope they don't find out like I'm a fraud. That feeling never left. And the thing that really helped me reframe this imposter syndrome and really deal with imposter syndrome was a conversation I had with one of my friends. And I was just talking about some of the feelings I was having around building a video production business and building this YouTube channel. And he was saying, yeah man, of course you're gonna feel some sort of imposter syndrome. You're doing something that you haven't done before, therefore your confidence is not gonna be up there. You know, saying you have imposter syndrome doing certain things that you're not comfortable with is the same thing like saying, yeah, I ran a marathon, but I got tired at the end. Of course you're gonna get tired at the end. That's part of the process. When you're doing something new, when you're trying to do something that you're not able to do before, you're going to feel imposter syndrome. You're gonna feel like you don't belong there. You're gonna feel like this is something that you're not supposed to be doing. And that's totally normal. So yeah, imposter syndrome is always gonna be a thing that you're gonna be living with no matter how successful you get, no matter how much confidence you have in certain things. When you're pushing your boundaries, pushing yourself to do something that you haven't done before, you're gonna feel it. So what do you do about it? What are some strategies that you can use to kind of deal with this thing? So recently I read this book called The Alter Ego Effect, and it kind of gives the blueprint on how to deal with imposter syndrome. Instead of giving you like a summary on this book, let me just tell you one story from the book that kind of illustrate what this alter ego effect is and kind of demonstrate how you can use the alter ego effect to fight imposter syndrome. So basically, there's this beautiful gospel singer, let's call her Miss N, and she would sing like these beautiful church songs on Sundays, and people from all over the city and the state came to see her because of like lovely her voice was. And one of these people that came to see her was an agent from the music industry, and he saw how beautifully she was singing, and right there on the spot he signed her to his record label or whatever. And now Miss N was a pop star, so she had to, you know, appeal to the masses. And the way you know, to appeal to the masses was to sing like sexy songs and dress in like this provocative manner. But dressing that way and singing these songs made Miss N feel really uncomfortable, because, you know, before she was singing, you know, church songs and gospel songs. So being in this new environment, she really felt like an imposter. So what she did was she invented a character, and she called this character Sasha Fierce. And for the next 10 years, whenever Miss N needed to go on stage, she would turn on this character called Sasha Fierce, and yeah, she became like this world famous singer. And the singer, of course, is Beyonce Knowles. Beyonce Knowles' alter ego was Sasha Fierce. She created Sasha Fierce because of the feeling of imposter syndrome she was having when she was singing like, you know, popular songs rather than gospel songs. And I think a couple of years ago, Beyonce actually retired Sasha Fierce because she no longer needed her alter ego, and she just kind of became like this fierce singer and dancer in front of people. When I read that in the book, I was like, man, I was doing something kind of similar when I first started teaching. So when I first became a teacher, I wasn't really confident in my abilities, and I couldn't speak as eloquently as I could. I couldn't like manage my classroom. I was like really feeling like the sense of imposter syndrome because, you know, I wasn't really good at school, but now I'm like this teacher, like how, like it didn't even make sense in my head. But I really loved the idea of me being a teacher, and I loved the idea of me being able to like impact students in the same way some of my favorite teachers impacted me. So I knew I wanted to get really good at it, but I just sucked at it at the beginning. So the first year I was teaching, I was not doing very good, except for during lab times. When I was doing a lab, I was really concerned with my students' safety, so I really had to turn it on and like be really like zoned into that moment. So whenever I put on my lab coat, I was doing like a pretty good job because I was really more concerned with my student safety than like being inside my head. And what I noticed was the students were like really responding to me differently when I had my lab coat on. So when I noticed that I was like getting a different reaction from my students when I was wearing this lab coat, I started wearing my lab coat more often, and I would kind of like embody this character, and I called it Mr. U. And Mr. U is a combination of Bill Nye the Science Guy, Richard Feynman, and one of my favorite science teachers when I was growing up. So I just combined these three people together and I created this character. So later what I did was, even when I was not doing a lab, when I didn't have to have a lab coat on, I would just put on my lab coat and I would kind of embody Mr. U when I'm teaching. And what I found out is I'm a better teacher when I'm Mr. U. I'm more funnier when I'm Mr. U. I can deliver my lessons more easily, and my classroom management is better. All the things that I needed to accomplish in that moment as a teacher, I'm able to do better as Mr. U. And later on, as I've been teaching for like 7 years now, I don't need to wear a lab coat anymore. I'm kind of becoming Mr. U without that like need to like jump into an alter ego. For the longest time, I was really afraid to talk in front of this camera. It was like, it almost felt like the first day of teaching or something. Talking to this inanimate object is just very unnatural, and it's not the same. And I had to really rely on a script more. I had to really like rely on like doing a lot of research and just talking to you guys about stats and like science and research stuff that's not really interesting, or like things that you guys can actually connect with. And so whenever I turn on this alter ego, which is me, but the more confident version of me sitting in front of a camera, I feel like I can do a better job. And the way I embody this person, Nishantha, the dyslexia coach, is by wearing this glasses and wearing this shirt and using like red eye drops. Because when I was before, you guys probably noticed I had like one of my eyes is like really red, and the reason why it's red is because when I was a kid I fell and the white part of my eye got scratched, and yeah, we never wanted to do any surgeries on it because it's your eye. I just didn't want to risk like losing my eyesight just for something like cosmetic like that. But I found these cool eye drops, and the doctor prescribed them to me, so they kind of take away the redness for a few hours. So whenever I put on those red eye drops and sit in front of this camera, I feel totally confident and at ease with myself speaking to you guys. Well, not completely totally, but I'm getting better and better at it. And I'm like not, falling over my words and stuff like that. And I'm just like talking to you guys as if you were my friends. And I've gotten to know a lot of you guys, and some of you guys are my friends. So yeah, this has been really cool. I hope this video kind of helped dealing with imposter syndrome. If you guys want me to break down exactly how to create an alter ego from this book, I can make that in the next video. Comment below if you want me to make another video about imposter syndrome and the alter ego, how to use it to solve it. Yeah, I hope you guys like this video. Please smash that like button. It'll really help out with the YouTube algorithm. One of my biggest goals this year is to grow our community to 100,000 subscribers. I think it'll be so cool, you guys, to have 100,000 dyslexics in our community and in YouTube, kind of vibing with each other, sharing resources, and just like, yeah, vibing and like knowing that we're there to support each other. Speaking of the community, you can go to community.howtodyslexia. It's a free community that I've created for us to connect and share resources and just to meet other cool dyslexics. So if you guys want to check that out, go to the website. Yeah, I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye bye, everybody.